think there's two big approaches to lyrics. There's the sort of storyteller type, and people like that are, as I said, Adrian Lenker, Phoebe Bridges, poetry like Billy Collins. There's the other side of it. You don't have to do that. You can just, each line can be self-contained. Kurt Cobain for Nirvana, quite often you can pick out like each of his lines don't seem to, maybe they do, and I haven't read his lyrics carefully enough, but they seem to be quite self-contained and they just sound cool. Or you could be just worry about the euphony and like having sonorous sounding vocals sometimes they don't really need to make a huge amount of sense, and people aren't after that. Sometimes people listen to songs if they wanted just a complete story and complete sense, they would just read a novel or poetry, like quite literal poetry. Sometimes people just want beautiful sounds and beautiful words. And poetry that's like that is like Dylan Thomas. Rai X is really good at just using beautiful words that sit like liquid in his voice and just sound great. Yeah, there's lots of approaches. You can be like the storyteller, songwriter who keeps a diary and is very literal and very vulnerable. Or you can be more about just the sounds of words and the beauty of it. Or you can be a bit of both. Like I think Matt Healy from the 1975 is one of the best at being both of those. His lyrics sound so nice to listen to, but they are also very vulnerable and full of meaning and wear their heart on their sleeve. Again, I'm talking about where lyrics come from. You've got, diaries. Another thing that I do, I use this book called, I used to do this with Phrase and Fable. I heard Tom Waits mention Phrase and Fable, and it's one of these dictionaries that's just full of interesting facts and stuff. But one that I prefer that my father-in-law gave me is this really old book called The New Dictionary of Thoughts. And what you can do is you just open it up anywhere and it's got thoughts on everything. So for luck, it says here, what helps luck is a habit of watching for opportunities, of having a patient but restless mind, or uniting a love of detail to foresight. From that, I sometimes will write these down in the top of a book like this, and you write it down and then you see what other thoughts you have in your own mind about that same thing, and you'll be surprised how many things you can pull out. So, and a lot of the time you think, they're not very good, but you get one or two that's actually quite cool. So there's a quote below this by Shakespeare that I found in here under sorrow, and he said, "Give sorrow words, the grief that does not speak knits up the overwrought heart and bids it break." So for me, he's saying like, when there's sorrow in your life, if you don't find a way to talk about it or put it into your diary or share it somehow and give it words, then it just totally messes you up inside. And so from that, I've written down, she's got sorrow in the heart and nobody to hear about it. And that's quite simple, or like sad in the heart and no one to hear about it. It's just a nice way of saying someone's lonely. And I don't think I would have written that down if I hadn't read that Shakespeare thing. Or maybe I would have if, like, with enough introspection. You grab quotes from here that hit you, and then you see what you yourself have got to say about them. And these are ideas that then, if you do it enough, again, they're like churning around in your mind. And the next time you sit down to write a song, something might find its way into the song. That happened for me one time. A Prayers lyric that I really like. Someone's on the train, and it's Prayers is one of my projects, and it's up the east of England, sound of railway boredom, watching waves try not to break like those before them. And I can't remember, I think I've been carrying around that idea for a couple of years of like the way that waves kind of look like they're trying not to break, and they'll come up, and just at the last moment when they can't hold themselves up anymore, that's when they come down. And yeah, I probably was reading Dylan Thomas and giving waves agency, giving them human desires, like trying not to break. And it's just, you get these moments of luck where you carry thoughts like this around for a while, for long enough that then eventually they fit that inevitable thing that I was talking about, the rhythm of the melody and the words sounding right. Another way to just keep thoughts like this alive in your mind long enough for them to make their way into a song is haiku. Because a lot of time as songwriters, we spend so long trying to get the music together that we don't actually practice writing words down a huge amount. So a good way to practice that is with haiku, because it's so low pressure, it's so quick. You can just sit down for 20 minutes and try and write a few. And the rule is 5 syllables, 7 syllables, and then another 5 syllables. And you can just grab an idea of something that you've been working on, a thought you've been having, and you just try and fill a page with like 4 or 5 haikus on that idea. Another equivalent thing of that is you just choose a rhyme scheme from a song that you like. Like I mentioned earlier, Leonard Cohen, You Want It Darker. You take that rhythm and you just, like with haikus, you just try and fill a page with that rhythm, and it helps with you practicing rhyming as well. Another good format for that is the song Murder Most Foul by Bob Dylan. If you listen to that rhyme scheme he's doing, like da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da, A, da-da-da-da-da, nothing to say. And you can just like write 4-lined things. I call them MMFs, like Murder Most Foul. Sometimes I'll just sit there and write like a page or 2 pages of that rhyme scheme. Not that I'm going to use it in a song, but it's just a very useful way to practice like rhyming and using my ideas and keeping my mind busy with those thoughts that I'm having, and just writing them down somewhere you can easily access. I've got some lyric books up there on the shelf. Sometimes, again, I'm hesitant to say this, but I guess I have to say it because it sort of happened on this song, is what I was working on a melody before, and I think it was a subconscious thing. I had an attachment to this like P sound, and the word parasol came out. I didn't even know, I sort of knew what it meant, but I had to Google it. You might remember in the previous class, Under the Parasol with You. Sometimes with lyrics, I'm giving you all these techniques because you need like things to use when it's not coming naturally, but sometimes stuff does just happen. It gets sent to you from somewhere, like I said with that Elizabeth Gilbert book. I think with this song, where I'm going to start is with those natural things, just working off of, I really like that line, Under the Parasol with You. I think with lyrics, if you can fill them with things, if you read a Billy Collins poem or listen to a Tom Waits song, it's full of things that give the song a sense of place, and it just creates imagery straight away. Lana Del Rey does it all the time. She's very particular about what things she uses to give off this, to build her whole character, basically. A lot of that is to do with the places she's at, like the country club, what she's doing, the types of drinks, what she's wearing, what colour her lipstick is. You want to mention things a lot, and this Under the Parasol with You makes me think of already like a book called Tender is the Night by Fitzgerald. There's a bit where she's like looking at a group of people who are having a good time across the beach, and they're all under these umbrellas, and the main guy, he's like carrying glasses around and pouring drinks for people, and that's making me think of Philip Larkin. He's great at writing poetry where he's talking about something great happening, but it's happening elsewhere to other people, to someone else, and he's on the outside looking in. He's elsewhere, he's the outsider. And I like that. I think the idea, I'm not going to say that I am under the parasol with you. It's going to be a song of longing, like wishing I was that person under the parasol with you. Yeah, it's just that Philip Larkin kind of lens on it would work really well. And the reason stuff like that works well, the reason Larkin does it, I think is, sorry, I won't keep waffling too much longer, but I just think it's important to talk about lyrics. In Nick Cave's film 20,000 Days on Earth, he says, when you're writing lyrics or songs, you want to aim for counterpoint. I think I mentioned this earlier, but like 2 opposing forces coming together and seeing what sparks fly from that. So with this elsewhere thing that Larkin uses, he can talk about beautiful things like love and tenderness, about a girl having snow in her hair after she's just like had a play fight with the man she loves in a field. But then that would be too cheesy if it was just that on its own, but he can then balance it out with the opposing force of a lonely, maybe even creepy guy, like watching that couple from his bedroom window. And that's what makes it great, is like those 2. I even made a note of a stanza of a poem. Yeah, this is a poem by, I think she's a Welsh poet called Annie Brechin. And the first 2 lines of the stanza is, the man I love is half a world away. Great, but alone on its own, that's not doing much. That's, a lot of people have said half a world away, and the man I love, and that thing of someone being far from you. But the second two lines are what does it. She says, the man I love is half a world away and hasn't loved me for a year. That's like a nice surprise, and it's jarring, and you think you're expecting it to be that cliche of two distant lovers who miss each other, but it's unrequited, it's one-sided. He hasn't loved me for a year, and that's a lovely surprise. And again, it's like these opposing things of her cherishing someone, and then the apathy of her, just that person not thinking about her for a year. You can juxtapose things like that. You can do it with, if you've got like a happy sounding song, like if we'd done the first of the three ideas we worked on, I probably would have tried to make the lyrics very sad, just to try and counter how upbeat and happy the instrumentation sounded, just because that's kind of how I enjoy writing songs. Yeah, so let's get into it. So I'm going to start out, Under the Parasol with You is like I feel that I've got lucky with that. It's kind of like giving me a cornerstone of this song. And I want this kind of, if you want to look up Philip Larkin, High Windows is a lovely poem. Just get his collection. It's like a green cover. Let's listen to the chorus and see what my subconscious was doing. Run away with you. That's all I do. Back in the burning too. I wanna run away with you. That's all I do. Don't let a chance in you. I wanna run away with you. Together was done too. Okay. It needs stuff that rhymes with you, and I'm gonna sing. I think I should try this parasol line and just see what my subconscious does. I'm very tempted. I won't do it. I want to go into the production and make those spiccato violin quarter notes like jink, 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 jink. And the guitar, I really want to be more like chorusy, Cyndi Lauper kind of thing. But we'll do that later. I'm just saying those two things so they're in my head. In fact, I'll mark them down here. Okay, so under the parasol with you. Under the parasol with you. That's what I do. I love it just for you. Under the parasol with you. I wanna choose. I wanna be the fuse. Under the parasol with you. Just gonna keep doing nonsense and see what the subconscious says. I like that. I want. Under the parasol with you.